since 1970. This is WIS Awareness.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Awareness. I'm your host, Leland Pender. Today we'll be talking about the death of George Floyd and the activism and protest that have followed. Floyd, of course, died after an arrest where a Minneapolis police officer knelt on his neck while Floyd was subdued and on his stomach. Some of those protests in Columbia have been peaceful, but we've also seen some violence and some chaos. Authorities largely crediting any violence to outside agitators intent on causing destruction and hijacking the moment. Now, at various news conferences, we've heard from several leaders, from law enforcement to government to community leaders, like Columbia Urban League President J.T. McLawhorn.
The reason we have protests because people feel that they are locked out. No one is listening to them. If we take a step backwards, what we have to do is open up some channels to these voices in our community.
And JT joins me this morning. Good morning, JT. How are you?
Good morning. Doing very well, Leland. Hope you are also.
Doing very well. Thank you so much. So tell us, how did you come to be contacted by the governor to talk at those press conferences? And based on that soundbite we just heard from you, you talked about people feeling locked out. What are they locked out from, and how do we open that door?
Well, the only way that you can open a door is through communications. I think what we're experiencing is that high level of frustration. And when you have a high level of frustration, you got to have somewhere to let it out, in essence. And so protest is a natural phenomenon when people just really fed up with the system. They feel that they have no other alternative but to protest. Your protesting is not the first level of social engagement. The first level is to express your concerns. I think people have been expressing their concerns for a very, very long time. And it seems like their concerns have been falling on deaf ears. And as a result of that, people say, well, we got to do something else. We are sick and tired of being tired. And so let's do something to make a change. I think that protest is really important. It's a democratic form of expression. It's something that has been used effectively for over the years. It has been used effectively by people all over the world. So I think people understand that protest is effective. I think the challenge we have with protesting is to make sure that we have marshals involved in the process to maintain a sense of order and stability. We really commend the young people for their social activism, and we want to work with them because I think what we learned from the past is that when you assemble a large group of people together, you need to have some people involved, included in the marches, so that those people who are labor marshals, their role is to make sure that they maintain order and that it be a peaceful march. You always sometimes have elements that will infiltrate a march with their own personal agenda, and they're willing to sacrifice their personal agenda at the expense of the others involved. And it's not fair for people who come out with a genuine intent to demonstrate for change, and for other people to join them who have a different intent of disruption. So that's the role of marshals, to watch and observe participants and to make sure they keep an orderly environment.
You just did. I was going to ask you to kind of address the peaceful protest and some of the more violent acts and acts of destruction we saw. And what you just said, I think most people would certainly agree with. And of course, it is unfortunate and not ideal when those people infiltrate those movements and kind of, as I said at the top of the show, hijack the moment. But of course, people can't lose focus of what the issue is to begin with. Now, I want to ask you, of course, there is a racial component to all of this, and the issue that's being highlighted is policing in black communities and of black people. But when you consider that police officers do there are men and women of all races that work as police officers. How does that make the conversation more nuanced, or how does it change our approach, or does it?
Well, I think you're dealing with a culture. The culture is much stronger than the ethnicity of the individuals that are part of the department. There's a culture that has been instilled in law enforcement for years, and that culture is that you don't tell on other officers, that we protect each other, even when they're wrong. I think we're seeing today, we're seeing a break in that culture. I think people have come to realize that you cannot support people who are violating people's civil rights, that people are not going to tolerate it anymore. I think the protest movement has brought this to the surface again. And I think it had come to the surface in a manner today that people are ready to break that culture of supporting and protecting an officer even when they're wrong. And I think what's going on in Minneapolis when they indicted the other 3 officers that were they were complicit in that whole process, I think it sent a strong message that if you see something that's not right, you better report it. You may get indicted and be convicted and go to jail. I mean, this is a serious matter now. You know, I think that we have taken a giant step forward in making sure that we will have some form of civility when African American men are in custody with law enforcement. I think this is the beginning of this whole process. It took a long time. We think about that African American people have been subjected to this type of inhumane treatment for over 40 years. Over 400 years. And the time has come that a change is needed. We cannot, as a society, continue to mistreat African American people like we've done over the past 400 years. You know, I think that not only African American people are concerned about it, I think other people of goodwill are concerned about it, because when you see the marches, you see a very diverse group of individuals marching. And I think people have come out all over the world to say that we got to do better. We have to treat people more humanely,
JT,
and we got to stop.
You're right. You're
Yes.
exactly right. We're going to touch on that in a couple of minutes here on the program. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Yes, you can. You can earn your high school diploma from Penn Foster.
This was a second chance to come in and be able to achieve my goals, something I've always dreamed of.
At regionally and nationally accredited Penn Foster High School, you study online, on your time, at your pace.
The instructors are just amazing. I would definitely recommend the program.
And Penn Foster High School has flexible and affordable payment plans that can be customized to your needs.
Being able to get my education and still pay my bills is the best thing.
You can succeed. You can open new doors. You can graduate high school with Penn Foster.
It's never too late. I am 36 years old, and I've obtained my high school diploma. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
It's possible. You can be the next graduate.
And you can earn your high school diploma while taking courses to prepare you for the career of your choice.
Go to PennFosterHighSchool.com or call 1-800-572-1680.
Hi, Joe Namath here, and like you, I'm at home staying safe. But I wanted to get this message out. To make these uncertain times a bit easier and safer while at home, Medicare Advantage plans have added new benefits, including telephone appointments with your doctors, in-home aids, home-delivered meals, home-delivered prescriptions, and so much more. But you don't get all the benefits automatically. You need to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Coverage Helpline. It's now more important than ever to make sure your Medicare coverage is up to date. We all have a few minutes to make a phone call to focus on our health. Get what you're entitled to. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-973-1161. That's 1-800-973-1161 now.
All right, we left the conversation with J.T. McLawhorn talking about lots of people getting involved in this movement in a call for social and racial justice. We will talk more about that in just a few minutes. But J.T., I want to kind of ask you a different question here and shift the conversation. Of course, in times of unrest or turmoil, what we're seeing right now, a nation often looks to its leader, its president, for guidance and reassurance. Has President Trump effectively provided those things? Why or why not?
Well, I think that the current occupant of the White House does not understand the gravity. He does understand the gravity of his action. I think that in these times you need a leader who can bring people together, a leader who is able to find common ground. I think the current occupant of the White House is distant. And it's really not doing what a leader needs to do to bring people together. I think that the world recognizes that. I think other leaders are concerned about the inaction on the part of the current president relative to bringing people together, you know. But we have to realize that this movement today is greater than anyone who's at the White House. There are people in our country, there are people in our world today that are coming together. And I think even if the president is absent from the efforts to bring people together, people will come together and change will come. You can feel change out in the environment.
Certainly.
We got a global situation now. People all over the world are coming together on one accord. I have never seen that type of response to injustice before. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Thank God.
JT, tell me, what do we need or what should we expect from white America or white Americans in this fight?
Well, I think Dr. King said it best in his letter from the Birmingham jail. He said in that letter that he was somewhat disappointed in the white church, one, and secondly, he was disappointed in white liberals. And I think that what we've seen since Dr. King's efforts, I think we're seeing a coming together now of those same people that Dr. King challenged in his letter from the Birmingham jail. So, I mean, I think it's a progressive kind of environment. I think a lot of times people feel that this does not concern me and I shouldn't get engaged in this process. I think there's a wind of change where people are getting engaged. And I think people understand I must become my brother or my sister keeper. And if they're not doing well, then we're not doing well as a people.
Really taking steps to see and understand that we are all Americans, a part of the American race, before we use things to divide ourselves among each other. JT, had a couple more questions I wanted to get in, but, you know, time is never on our side, so I'm certain we'll have you on the program again. But for today, thank you so much for joining me.
Leland, thank you for all you do to keep us informed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Coming up after the break, more on the role of white Americans in this conversation.
If the white people don't say anything, it's like they don't hear us. It's a joint effort. This is America. We're a melting pot of race and ethnicity.
The people who are in authority and who are privileged and reap the benefits of the system that disadvantages other people need to take that initiative.
We'll be right back.
If your bathroom is on your summertime to-do list, you're going to want to keep it right here. I have BJ from West Shore Home with an exciting offer to make that project both easy and fun.
That's right, Joe. People spend a ton of time in their homes this spring, and they're really excited about getting some projects tackled. So I have an amazing opportunity. Let's talk about bathroom remodels, right? We get that project done right now, and we're going to take no money down, They make no payments and no interest for 2 full years. So again, you get that bath remodel done right now and hold on to your cash.
Awesome. And you guys are all about making bath remodeling both convenient and affordable.
Yeah, it's been a long, challenging spring for everyone. So again, we're trying to get some excitement around that bath remodel project. So the first thing is we bring out the iPad design tool. So right there in your comfort of your own home, you can design that bath of your dreams and see exactly what it looked like installed in your home. Second, all of those projects come with an antimicrobial, so it makes it super easy to clean your new bath area.
Well, let's see some projects. Can you show us, BJ?
Sure, I got some right here on the iPad, Joe. Let's check it out. So here's one where the homeowner wanted a fresh, updated feel, and we are able to transform it into this in just one day.
You put a fresh new bath or shower in there, changes the dynamic of the whole bathroom.
Absolutely. Let me show you another one. This homeowner wanted to opt for a beautiful new shower, and again, you can just see how it gives that real, modern, clean look.
Huge difference. Big project, but yet you make it so easy for your customers.
We make the project a breeze, but don't take my word for it. Google West Shore Home. You're going to find hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. And if you need a little more inspiration, check out our Instagram page.
That's a great idea.
So, Joe, one more thing. If you pick up the phone and call right now, I'm going to make this a no-brainer because we're going to take 50% off the cost of the installation of the new bathroom remodel project.
Incredible. BJ, thank you so much, folks. What an exciting way to kick off summer. The experts at West Shore Home have a great deal for you. It is their best financing option ever. They're doing 2 full years of free financing. That's no money down, no payments, and no interest for 24 months. Plus, if you call right now, BJ's doing 50% off your professional installation. Or your dream bath installed for just $99 a month. Call West Shore Home now.
Political analyst Joel Sawyer talks about what white Americans can contribute to this conversation and the overall fight for social and racial justice.
Evident by the diverse crowds at these protests we're seeing, there are a ton of white people that are involved in this and that are there. So there's clearly a desire for white people to kind of take steps to right some of these societal wrongs. Why is it important that white people take that stand?
It's going to have to be a collective effort. I mean, if you just look at the racial composition of America, African Americans are about 13% of the entire population, yet African Americans, according to the Washington Post, just since 2015, are more than twice as likely as white people as to be killed in a confrontation with police. So if you just, sheer math tells you that for this to be for there to be a solution to this, there is going to have to be a collective effort. And if you just look around in America, in the halls of power, the seats of influence, whatever you want to call it, if you look at legislative bodies, city councils, county councils, corporate boardrooms, they are still overwhelmingly white. And that's just the reality of how America looks. The seats of power and influence in America don't look like the rest of America oftentimes. And so it's going to take all of us and a collective effort from all of us to right these wrongs.
Is there kind of so when you think about history, a lot of times it was, obviously white people that put some of these same systems we're fighting into place. So what do you say about the kind of turnaround that we're seeing in those same people taking steps to dismantle some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I think, what we're seeing, particularly in the police forces is just cases of neglect. I don't know that the police forces are necessarily, designed to operate in the way that they have for too long in African American communities, but because it is not in the face of white people, it's not in the face of policymakers. The advent of cell phone cameras has made a huge difference in making sure that white people see what black people have seen for generations in this nation. And what I tell people is that, look, if you are horrified by videos like that of George Floyd, like videos of Eric Garner, like videos of Philando Castile, if you're horrified by seeing those videos, you'll be really horrified when you think about how many times it's not on video.
Sure. And you alluded to it a second ago and just again in that second response there. When you talk about those people who run corporations, both big and smalls, boardrooms and executive leaderships of organization, those who practice law, work in government, and of course those who work in law enforcement, what is their role in kind of fixing this issue and gauge the desire for me of those people to rise and meet that challenge?
I mean, I think that in law enforcement, it's to lead by example and to get rid of this, ridiculous idea of the blue wall of silence. Whereas, and we all know that there are a lot of great cops out there, but when great cops don't speak out against bad cops, it's very, very difficult for people of color in these communities to trust the police officers as a whole. And the other thing, what you said about, people in leadership, corporate roles, whatever, a lot of these changes in policing have to come from the community level. So I think that as you are, if this is something you care about, let your vote reflect that. When people are running for city council or county council or various local leadership roles, say, what are you going to do to make African American communities safer? What are you going to do to help reinstill that trust between, or not even reinstill, just instill in the first place, that trust between African American communities and the law enforcement officers that are supposed to protect them?
Having white allies in kind of these fights and these issues isn't new. Of course, that's been in place, dating back to the 60s and before. But, in your view, what's different about that allyship right now with issues of today compared to what we've seen with white allyship in the past?
I think that, what I alluded to earlier is just the advent of technology. When you can hear all day long experiences of African Americans, being targeted, pulled over, harassed, stopped by police. But when you see it on video, when you see it, in an indisputable, horrifying way on video, it hits people in the gut in a way that just, telling people or reading about it on a page, it doesn't do. And it's sad in a way that it's come to that that many people in white leadership may not have, I don't want to say not believed the experiences that black people were suffering at the hands of police, but it just didn't really hit home in the same way as a video does. So I think that that's what's different, is that people are seeing it firsthand and seeing just the horror that someone like George Floyd went through.
And talking about Black Lives Matter, of course, that's a movement that has been in practice for a few years now. Of course, it's been highly criticized, but also highly praised. And among those that are critical of it, though, a lot of times folks will counter Black Lives Matter with the phrase, all lives matter. Kind of explain to me how you explain to other people, particularly those in the white community, why that's problematic, inappropriate, and kind of a really deaf response.
Yeah, because look, if somebody's wearing a pink breast cancer ribbon, you don't walk up to him and say, hey, take that off. We need to be curing all cancer. It's ridiculous and tone deaf. But I think that the phrase Black Lives Matter is supposed to, is supposed to be evocative. And, when people say, all lives matter, nobody's disputing that. Of course, all lives matter, but we can't really say that and mean it as a country until Black Lives Matter, until Black lives, are not taken at more than twice the rate as white lives in confrontations with police officers.
If there are people out there among the white community who are hesitant or even resistant to kind of get involved and show support or speak out or, use their voice in any way to support this fight, what would you say to them?
I would say spend some more time with your friends and neighbors of color, your friends and your coworkers. Don't assume that you know everything. Don't let the extreme voices on either side of social media define how you view things. Have conversations with people. Have conversations with your neighbors, your coworkers, the people at your church. And rather than assuming you know everything, just say, hey, tell me about your experience. Tell me about your experience and, what if, your experience with police. Almost without exception, every African American, particularly African American males that I know, work with, friends with over the years, have a harrowing experience with police, and it just, sometimes it takes those conversations to really realize, wow, this is real, and it's not anti-cop to say that. People are so worried about being, anti-law enforcement. Again, no one is disputing that there are good police officers out there. But I think that some of those, some of those same people that are reluctant to, call out people, in some of the demonstrations that are breaking windows and doing property damage, and they're using those few people to cast a large pale over the protest, those very same people are then very reluctant to call out bad cops and say, hey, maybe we have a systemic problem here.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Joel. Anything else you'd like to add that I didn't ask you?
No, listen, I appreciate you having me on, and I would just urge that this is one of those things that there's not an easy answer to. There is not an overnight solution. There is not a top-down solution to this. This is friends and neighbors coming together, having conversations, taking to the streets when necessary, and pushing for change from the bottom up.
This is the kind of card that has America talking. With it, people with Medicare are getting all-in-one coverage for their doctor visits, hospital care, prescription drugs, and more. This kind of insurance, called Medicare Part C, may also cover dental care, eyeglasses, hearing aids, fitness programs, vitamins, even healthy meals and rides to the doctor. With this kind of coverage, you do not need a Medicare supplement insurance plan. You will access your benefits through your Medicare Part C plan for one low and oftentimes $0 monthly plan premium. You deserve to get the most from your Medicare benefits. Call now for free information that may help you get more coverage for less money. There is no obligation to enroll, whether for yourself or someone you love. Call the number on the screen now. Call now.
There's one of 3 reasons your house is too hot. First, if you live in an older home, you may not have any insulation. Second, you may have cheap, builder's grade insulation. We can install our foam right on top of it. Third, you may only have attic insulation. You wouldn't expect to keep this drink cold just like this. You got to put it in the whole cooler. And your insulation needs to be around your whole home. Call now, and when we insulate your walls, we'll do your attic for free.
USA Insulation.
Hi, I'm Andy Stanley, and isn't it true that our greatest regrets always begin with a single bad decision? But what if there was a way to make better decisions and consequently live with fewer regrets? I'm convinced it's possible, and I'll tell you how this weekend on Your Move.
A big thanks this morning to Columbia Urban League President J.T. McLaughlin and Joel Sawyer for both coming on and offering their differing but, of course, important perspectives to this conversation. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and as always, thanks for joining us.
Hello, I'm William Shatner, and you may not know this about me, but years